Yeah. Awesome. All right.
So welcome everyone to MelbJVM for October. How many of you guys came to the VJug session we ran? Good. So for those that weren't here, VJug is a 24-hour conference. Given that that is most of you, it's all available online. We listened to some awesome talks by some people who definitely haven't come to Australia yet, so it's always good to get them on board and just listen to some really amazing people. Never use someone else's laptop. Okay, so if you hadn't noticed, we are in Aconex again. So normally someone does a little spiel about how great they are. That'll be me tonight, because they've put on this wonderful venue, wonderful pizza, beer, and from looking around the room, there's a few long-term members of this job that are now employees, and to me that's the best sign for a good employer. As usual, at the end we'll have our JetBrains raffle as well, so you too can join the elite of IntelliJ users. And tonight we have Julien. Now, who here uses Spring Boot? Who here does a little bit of front-end stuff with Angular? Who here uses JHipster already? Yeah, okay, so you got a captive audience there. So a few things. So Java EE has been sort of in the spotlight because of Java 1. So they delayed it to the end of next year. And as well as delaying it, they also decided that they would cut a bunch of stuff from it. So the JMS 2.1 is gone, or at least delayed. MVC 1.0 will not be included. And there was also another one which was sort of taking the management APIs and exposing them over REST. They got rid of that as well, to make more of a focus on sort of more modern things, so cloud, microservices, stuff like that. This was a really popular decision that Twitter loved. So this week, I don't know why I put that down. Java microprofile. Did anyone hear about this? Raise a hand. Con, one guy, yeah. So I thought that the timing of this was interesting given the Java EE stuff. So this is I think they've got support from IBM, Red Hat, Tommy Tribe, as well as two prominent jugs, Sujug and London Java Community, and they're basically looking at allowing people to run EE on a much smaller footprint and precisely targeting microservices. How well this will work, they've got a really nice site at microprofile.io. Remains to be seen, but it now kind of leaves them on the same sort of path as Java EE. A few other things I noticed. So the Detailed Guide to Modern Java is a great read. It looks at all of the things that we should be doing. I didn't find anything really new in there, but what I did find was it put it all in one place. It put it all in a very nice format, and it put ads between everything. Mockito 2.1. Who uses Mockito here? Yeah. Who's never used Mockito? It's impressive. So Mockito 2.1 is sort of the next big release. For some reason, there was no 2.0 release, so this is the first Mockito 2 release. As to what is new, the only thing that they seem to talk about is you can now mock final methods. I kind of think if you're doing that, you've probably stuffed up something anyway. So yeah, check that out because I'm sure there are more useful things there. And the other thing up there is Spring Cloud contract. So this evolved really quickly in about 3 months. So they went from sort of nothing to basically a full consumer-driven contract system that fits into Spring Cloud. So if you are doing microservices, you've already brought in Spring Boot, Spring Cloud. I really recommend that. It's a good piece of software and it's quite light. Finally, for anyone who's using NetBeans, is anyone using NetBeans? No, one guy. One guy. So it's all right. So they're still alive. They haven't gone dormant like Java EU guys. They've been donated to Apache. So how that's going to work is who knows. But I mean, there are other IDEs. So you're probably not in too much trouble. So we have one special thing today. So Sapriya unfortunately has gone home ill. Aconex has done a screening for their employees of this short documentary about females in the technology industry and sort of the barriers that they face. I'm assuming based on the 10 seconds of the trailer I viewed. So we'll play the trailer here. Somewhere.
There will be 1.4 million jobs by 2020 in the computing-related fields. Less than 29% of them are going to be filled by Americans, and less than 3% of that 29% are going to be women.
I don't think software engineering is a meritocracy.
Being excellent or being good at your job isn't enough if you're a woman. In fact,
The sort of phenomenon of the programmer is really interested in
programmer.
It's hard to encourage more women to come into an environment that will sexually harass them and not fund them.
As soon as a woman gets introduced, it's like blood in the water.
When companies started putting these full diversity disclosure reports out there, it became very obvious, wow, there really is a problem. This is something that we need to be trying to address.
Women were the pioneer programmers. They've been written out of history, unfortunately.
Grace Hopper came up with the concept of real programming languages. Coding's accurate.
I like coding because instead of us being consumers, we could be like a producer.
In the same way that everyone should know a little bit about law and everyone should know a little bit about economics, you probably should know a little bit about computer science.
Growing up, I was learn how to code like so quickly.
The reason that there's a gap is actually related to some really real structural factors.
Girls aren't encouraged to pursue computer science. They're overlooked because, it's the boys that are doing science and the boys that are taking apart computers at age 9.
Most students have no exposure to programming.
Computer science should be a requirement in all public schools.
This is a Rosie the Riveter moment because the jobs are here and we don't have the workers to fill them.
For the digital revolution to truly be great, it can't just be for a certain set of people.
I'm hopeful because I think that the tech industry could move the fastest. If we see the problem, we can debug it.
This is our country, our cities, our communities, our children, our code.
Debugging the gender gap.
Marcelo, you want to?
I'm going to just add a little bit to it. So we had a private session from this documentary at Aconex, and Aconex really encourages the balance in the workplace. So we have over 60 different nationalities in here, and this is something that's important to us. And those guys from MelbJVM, we gave them the idea why don't we make a public session and you guys promote it? So we're looking forward to have a public session, and any of you that are interested to see about it, bring your family, your kids, if you have daughters, This is an interesting industry, and it feels like it's just like a male-dominated environment, but it's not. It's nice to see you girls in here, and we want to have more of you. So we want to talk about it. So we're looking forward to have a public session in conjunction with you guys. And it's gonna happen in the near future. And we hope to see you guys in here and like open to discussions like this. And the idea is to make the environment better for everyone with diversity. That's it.
I got a question. So kids are invited to that as well?
Yes.
Because we're running Color Dojo, and basically it's like a club for kids. We're teaching kids to program and learn technology, robotics, and whatever. So that session will be pushed through. We could log in our Color Dojo session as well.
Feel free to bring them here. The documentary takes about 15 minutes. And one of the things that talks about is like from very young ages, like guys are good at maths and girls should play with Barbies, you know? And that's not how it has to be. And that's what we want to show. Like, we want to like, we're not going to solve the situation. We just want to like show these steps towards it. That's it. Hope to see you guys here like we have the public session.
Thanks, Marcelo. And it's really important because I remember Google every year releases a report on basically the gender breakup of their entire company. And if you read the top level, it looks all rosy and happy. But if you drill down into the technical roles, they have the exact same issue as every other company. So, you know, even the big Silicon Valley giants suffer from the same problem. It's industry-wide. So next meetup, we'll be here again in November. Hopefully the 2nd, if I updated that correctly. And it's on monads. Monads? Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. Come along. I'm sure it'll be awesome. And yeah, as usual, connect with us on our various platforms: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, the blog. Now, tonight's speaker is in need of a glorious introduction, and it was decided that you know I was not fit to do this. So we have one of Julien's colleagues from Melbourne, and he will introduce and hopefully talk a little about who he works for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that you weren't able to do it; it's just I wanted to give the organisation a bit of a pitch. So good evening and welcome all to tonight's meetup to learn more about JHipster. My name is Duncan Banks and I'm the Managing Director of IPON Australia. Now IPON is a tech consultancy, but we're a new kid on the block here. You may not have heard about us, but we have been operating in Paris for the past 13 years. A few years ago, we expanded into the US on the West Coast there. And a couple of months ago, we entered the Australian marketplace here in Melbourne. And we thought it was a great opportunity to get Julien this evening to talk about some of the technology to try and improve the technology marketplace around the world. So our focus as a business, especially here in Australia, is in driving customer engagement, but doing so through the development of bespoke technology-driven digital experiences. And so I am currently putting together an organisation and grouping individuals who can help us do that. We're actively out there in the marketplace recruiting. And if you'd like to join one of the most progressive, business-oriented tech consultancies in Melbourne, I would ask you to come and have a chat to me. I'll be here all evening. Indeed, we've done that on the back of a very successful business model in France and in Europe and the US. And that has been founded on our technology core. And the technology core has been with Java and the JVM and open source technologies. And I think that's really important because it gives us a strong synergy with this group here this evening. But in addition to that technology core, it's really about the people. And IPON is a very culturally rich organisation. And when I'm developing IPON in Australia here, I want to replicate that as well. So we're looking to create a place where people love to go to work, where they deliver amazing things for the clients of IPON. But we can do so building on our technical core. I won't take it any further. With that, I'd like to introduce Julien Dubois. Julien Dubois is the Chief Innovation Officer for IPON. Unfortunately, we're unable to get him in person in Melbourne this evening, so he will be joining us via a Google Hangout. However, he will be here soon, and I look forward to getting him along to one of these meetups. As well as being the Chief Innovation Officer, he is the lead developer for JHipster, which is what he's going to talk to about this evening. JHipster is an open source project that's been heavily sponsored by one. But the numbers really talk for itself. If you have a look on GitHub, it's got over 5,000 stars. It had over 22,000 downloads just this month. So very, very it does, and we use it a lot in the projects that we're working on. I'm really looking forward to Julien talking about JHipster this evening, and as I said, if you'd like to talk to me about IFON Australia and what we're doing, I'll be at the ready all night. Julien.
Hi, nice to meet you.
All right, so we've got to sort out some sounds because we were speakers. So Julien, you're just muted, so swear profusely as much as you like while we get you connected. I may just switch off the display mirroring so that I can see what I'm doing. Mirror built-in display. All right. Not anymore. All right. And let's see. Let's try that one. And Julien, can you do a test?
Hello everyone.
Can you say something? No. It's going to jump out and jump back in. 1 second. No, continue broadcast.
Hello.
Hello. All right, now we can hear you. All right, so you can see everybody, Julien.
Hi everybody. Hi, hello.
All right, cool. Well, when you're ready, you can start. You've got the screen, and everyone can see you, and everyone can see whatever you're broadcasting. So please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So everybody see me, everybody hear me. I can't. Well, I can't see anyone obviously, but I can hear you. So oh. Okay, so I can see people also. Perfect. That's perfect. I just want to do a quick test before. If I want to share my screen, hang on, I'm just trying to share my screen, entire screen.
I have some icons on the green icon. Yeah.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I will share it back just afterwards if I find a way not to share it again. And now, do you see me on my screen?
I see you.
Oh, so that's perfect. Okay, very easy to use. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I hope Duncan will invite me very soon to visit Australia for real. I'm looking forward to come here, of course, but it's quite a long trip, so we couldn't do it for this time, but hopefully in a few months I will be able to come. So we're going to have like 1 hour. I don't know if that's fine with you. 1 hour on JHipster. Is that fine with everyone? Yeah. Okay. And just also before I start, you are all developers. Everybody is a Java developer. Yes.
I would say so.
Okay. And just a quick show of hands. Who has ever heard of JHipster? Okay. So. Yeah, okay, so like Alphonse Jerome is already a little bit aware of what JHipster is, and who has ever, well, who is using it actually? Who is already using it? Nobody? Wow. Well, that's I have very, very different audiences. That's very strange. Sometimes everybody uses it, sometimes nobody, and I still haven't found out the reason why. So it's probably different parts of the world. I don't know. So. I'm going to do a quick presentation, it's like 10 slides, and then we will code, and well, most of the presentation will be coding, of course. So I'm going to share my screen. I will probably not see you while coding, but I can hear you. So if anything fails, if you are happy with something or unhappy with something, just share or clap your hands, and I will hear you, and then I will know that there's something happening, because I need some feedback for the presentation. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's share the screen. Okay. So what is JHipster? So I'm quickly introducing myself, but Duncan already did it. So I'm the lead developer of JHipster, and I'm the guy who created it nearly 3 years ago. And you can follow me on Twitter. You know, I put my Twitter handles at Julien Dubois, that's myself, and at JHipster. Well, JHipster, it's me underneath, of course. So I'm working for Ypon, as Duncan said. We've been in Paris for 13 years. We are more than 200 consultants. We only do Java, well, Java, cloud, big data, well, everything that is around Java, but we are specialized in Java. We've got strong focus on innovation, technical expertise. We are very well known in France, but of course in Australia it's just starting. And we've got offices also, so in France, USA, Australia, Morocco also. And of course, if you want to join us in Australia, well, Duncan is here. Oh, and by the way, the photos are our offices. On the right, it's my office in Paris. And on the left, it's our office in the US, in Virginia. So I like to start speaking about JHipster by speaking about numbers because, well, that's kind of proving things. JHipster started like 3 years ago, a little bit less. Today, we've got 16 developers in the core team. That means people who have right access to the repository. So people who have the, let's say, the same level of access as me. We've got 16 people all around the world developing JHipster. We've got in total 245 contributors, including official contributions from companies like Google and Heroku. We've got other companies also contributing. So it's not only done by individual developers in their free time, it's also companies contributing. I should have said Ypon also. It's the main contributor. On GitHub, we are quite popular. We've got more than 5,000 GitHub staff, which is very, very big for a Java project. It's much, much more than most of the big Java projects, enterprise Java projects. We should reach tomorrow or maybe the day after 300,000. So that's quite big. Those are not mail and downloads. It's really people installing JHipster on their laptops. So it's really 300,000 installations of the software on the laptop. We've got conferences all around the world. And there's one book about MyTriable. I guess everybody knows MyTriable. Is that? I'm sorry because I hear myself. Is that working fine for you? Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. So we're quite popular with developers of JHipster, by Docker, Spring, Console, and DevOps about JHipster. Lots of people contributing, and one part where everybody's discussing about JHipster. So that's for developers. But companies also love JHipster. I created a small page like a few months ago where companies can register themselves as JHipster users. And we've got like nearly 100 companies. I thought it was the biggest companies, but we've got lots of companies using it. In Paris, we've got meetups every 2 months where companies come and talk about the use of JHipster. So it's quite widely used. And it's not only in France, of course, the US, South America, Asia. So we've got, for example, people in Singapore, in Vietnam, but probably in Australia and New Zealand. I didn't check, but it's pretty sure there are people here using it. And so why do developers and companies like it? Because JHipster, well, technically, it's an application generator, but something that is helping you to create very quickly high-quality web app. It gives you, let's say, quick time to market, very good productivity, and while we're trying to make you, as a developer, happy with your development environment and production system. So of course developers like it because win a lot of time, and companies like it because they can deliver the apps very, very quickly. And that's what I'm going to try to prove today. The key productivity gains, because I'm mostly talking about why we are going so fast with JHipster. And just also the story, the way with Ipon was a consulting company, and for our customers, it's very important for us to be able to deliver very, very quickly. And of course, we mostly do this tool for ourselves at the beginning. And of course, we open source this to everyone. We've got several independent studies, in fact, 4 of them. There's one study done by Ipon, and then studies which are totally independent, showing gains of, let's say, basically 6 weeks of time at the beginning of a project. That's been done. There's a company called HCL in India which did this. There's another company in Finland, and in France there's also Orange, which is a big telecom company. And all of them, well, gave us some feedback saying they win, well, let's say roughly 6 weeks at the beginning of the project. Oh, can you all hear me? Hi. Oh, looks like it is everybody here?
Yeah, we can hear you. We just muted you, so you want to get the feedback.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going back, but I can see you like this. Okay, I will switch so I can see you when I have it up. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's the main point at the beginning of JHipster is that it's going to generate the whole stack for you, but you're going to win a lot of time at the beginning. So that's really good. But then we're doing a big work, which is not obvious at the beginning, to help you in the long run. And that's my 3 other points. So that's something we will see right away. We do a very good job to have your Java code auto-reload automatically, to have your JavaScript auto-reload also, and to have something which is very efficient when you code. So that's what I will show right now. So this is something which is good not only at the beginning of the project, but during the whole project. The second thing that we do is we've got a lot of work on the quality of the code and the modular design. We've got some feedback from companies having 50 developers doing one JHipster project. And so we know that what we generate can scale very, very well. And that's not something you see at the, let's say, during the first months of the project. But after 3 months or 6 months of project time, well, you will see that this good design is going to help you in the long run. And last but not least, and that's something we'll just see at the very, very end of this presentation, we are ready for production out of the box with lots of, let's say, helpers to help you deploy to the cloud, well, either to Docker, to Cloud Foundry, to Heroku, to Amazon. And this is all already prepared for you. So you will also win a lot of time at the end of the project because you will not have any trouble to deploy your application into production. So everything is already set up for you, and you're going to win time at the beginning of the project, during development, and at the end of the project. And that's really our goal, is to help you all the time, and not just at the beginning. The technology stack, so I forgot to say, it's called JHipster. It's JavaHipster. So the Java is, of course, the backend. And the hipster part, at that time, 3 years ago, it was supposed to be AngularJS. So at that time, it was really hype. Today, it's like normal stuff. So I guess most of you, well, know what we are going to generate. I separated into 3 parts because so our generator does the whole, well, it's a full stack generation. Each part is in itself quite interesting and important to generate. But the biggest work we have is having something which is integrated. The highest cost usually is to integrate technologies. And the biggest work we do is having all those technologies and tooling working all together and being set up correctly. Because, of course, let's say the people from Spring Boot or Spring Security, they don't do anything for AngularJS. And the AngularJS people have no idea what Spring is, probably. So they just don't work together. And if you want to have everything working fine together, well, for doing more than an Hello World application, with security, internationalization, WebSockets, all that kind of thing, well, that's quite a lot of work if you want to have everything set up correctly. And that's the core of what we do. So in the front end, we've got something quite classical now with AngularJS, with our Bootstrap. We're adding WebSockets and internationalization. that's quite a lot of work to have both of them working. I'm not sure we will have time to show all of those, but trust me, that's quite a big work to have those correctly working. In the back end, we've got Spring Boot and let's say the Spring Stack in general coming, like Spring Security, Spring Data, that kind of thing. We added quite a lot of libraries like cache, distributed caching, metrics for monitoring everything. Oh, sorry. Yeah, everything's fine.
Do you have any slides for what you're talking about at the moment, Julien? We just have one of the audience members ask at the moment, so we can see your screen. Are you sharing your screen, or you just talking?
Yes. You see my slides or not? My slides or not?
No, we just see you. Your
oh,
face.
Sorry. Sorry. You're seeing the slides. Sorry. Let's share the screen again.
No
Sorry. Okay. Do you see the screen?
We see the screen, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I talked about. You heard that, and I was there. Just shout at me when it's not working. And anyway, we're going to see that with the code. I've got one last slide, and you need to see this one because that's something I will not demonstrate. We've got this support for microservices with the Netflix stack, and the same application generation as with the but it's split. We generate a front end, and then we can generate several different microservices together with the Netflix stack. So it's a far more complex stuff. We don't have the time in 1 hour to see everything, but if you are interested in that, we've got a very, very strong support for microservices. And if you know JHipster with the monolith part, doing it with microservices is basically the same thing, because we just generate stuff at different in different services, but it's the same thing as generating everything in the same place for us. So it gives you a very easy way to do microservices, and as a developer, it's working kind of the same way as doing a monolith. And as well, if some of you have tried to do microservices, you probably know it's very, very hard to have a correct development environment with microservices, because you've got all those different services running together, and you need to set up everything. So we generate all that for you. And for that we have strongly tied to Docker, because in fact we Dockerize everything. We'll talk a little bit about Docker afterwards. So if that's good for you, let's code. Yeah, is that okay for you, or do you have any questions?
Any questions? Oh, okay, we're all good.
You're all good. And now, do you see me or not? Yes, you see me again.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I do that, lose the focus. Okay. I'll put you in a little screen. So I see you. Do you see my desktop now?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So how is JHipster working? So there are different ways to get started, but the easiest way, and let's say usual way, a terminal. Can you see my terminal good enough?
Can you make your font a bit bigger, please?
Bigger, like this.
Bigger. More. Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
This is good. Okay.
Thanks, Julian.
So I'm going to create a new directory. Yeah. Melbourne. Oh, I'm going to put it a little bit higher. So I'm going to Melbourne. This is an empty directory. I'm going to call it. So I already installed it. It's a Node package. Installed with Node.js. It's quite easy to install. I install it. And I just run it from the command line. There are other ways to start it. So that's the most easy way to get started. easy way to get started. So I'm running JHipster. It's going to ask me questions. So there are, as you can see, 13 questions. In fact, it changes because those questions, it's like a tree of questions. Depending on your first answers, you're going to have some other questions. It's quite clever. It's not just question and answers. I'm going to generate a basic app. I'm going to select the default answer most of the time, but we will talk a little bit about those questions and answers. And of course, if you have yourself some questions, well, I can answer them. Yeah, trying to see if I still see you. So first thing I'm going to do a monolith application. This is the simplest application. It's going to ask me like basic questions like what's the name of your app. So by default, it's the name of the directory we are in. So it's called Melbourne because I created a Melbourne directory. It's going to ask me my package name. I'm going to use the default. And then we start to have some more technical questions like which type of authentication do you want? Do you want like normal Spring Security, HTTP session-based authentication? Well, we extended it quite a lot, so it's not totally Spring Security. Do you want OAuth 2? Do you want JWT? So like JWT is all the rage now. I'm using this one. It's going to ask me the database I want to use. So we support SQL database. We support MongoDB. We support Cassandra. I'm going to select an SQL database. And as you can see with SQL, we've got a lot of choices. Oh, I forgot to say, so JHipster is fully open source. So you don't, well, you never pay for anything. If you want to use Oracle, it's not like an option where you have to pay for the enterprise edition. Like, lots of generators are doing that. It's not what we do. It's what we do is fully open source. If you want to use Oracle or SQL Server, it's all open source and free with us. So I selected SQL. As you can see, it's a tree of questions, in fact, because as I selected SQL, now it's asking me, okay, now which SQL database do you want to use? Is it MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle? Yes, Oracle, the driver is not open source, so you've got to install the driver yourself. But yeah, most of the, well, let's say what we generate is all open source. I'm selecting MySQL, and as I said, MySQL for production, well, for development, I can also use MySQL, or I can use H2. H2 is an embedded database, so it's a little bit easier to use. For myself, I use MySQL myself, but for a demo, it's a little bit easier to use H2, so I'm going to use H2 now, but well, it's just a matter of choice. And then I selected an SQL database. Well, JHipster, now I'm going to use Hibernate, so I'm going it's asking me, do you want to use a second level cache? So it's either no cache or EH cache or Hazelcast. So Hazelcast is very good because it's distributed, especially if you're doing microservices. We've got some specific code which allow you to scale your microservice and have a shared cache for your microservice. So it's very, very efficient. For EH cache, we are currently working with Software AG, the company behind EH cache, so we can migrate to EH cache 3. So we should be like one of the first projects with EH cache 3, and it's done by the guys doing EH cache 3, so it should be very, very good. As I'm doing something very simple, I'm just using EH cache now. For building my code, a few other questions. Do you want to use Maven or Gradle? So it's the same thing, basically. I'm a Maven fan, so I'm using Maven, but if you like Gradle, it's working the same way in the end. After this, like, very well, the first question, let's say, narrows the tree of technologies you can use. And with everything that I selected, I've got all those technologies I can add on top of what I've selected. I can use Spring Social, in fact, for the first one, Elasticsearch. I can use clustered HTTP sessions with Hazelcast. I can have WebSockets. I can use Kafka. So here, I just need to select the ones I want. And then my project will be generated with all those technologies. As I'm just doing a demo, I'm not going to clutter everything, so I'm not selecting anything, but if I wanted them, I just had to select them. That was for the Java part, and for the front-end part, I can use SAS for doing my CSS. It's very popular. I'm not using it for the demo, but it's very popular. And I can also use internationalization, like let's say something I want it in English and in French, of course. Oh, and let's say let's use a Korean to have a different set of characters. when I say backend and frontend, it's not, by the way, I'm not totally correct. Because when you generate internationalization, it also generates internationalization files on the backend. When I'm saying for the backend, we're using, I don't know, Elasticsearch, well, we also generate some frontend to show you Elasticsearch. So, well, those are big, let's say, general questions for generating. And then what we do is much more complex than just installing the technology. Now I've selected my backend, my frontend. I've got questions about the testing frameworks I want to use. You know, Gatling is really good. It's done by a French company also, and it's also open source for doing performance testing. I'm just having a look at the screen. Do you know Gatling? Can you show your hand? Yeah, no? Yeah, no? Yes, a little bit, yeah. It's very popular. It's very good. Yeah, it's very popular. It's very good. So, and I also like Protractor for doing integration testing. It's, I'm not, yeah, well, let's just select it. So I selected everything, and it's just generating the app. So the app is already generated because the app itself just takes like, I don't know, half a second to be generated. And then JHipster is going to install some packages for Node, because we're going to see we've got quite a number of tools which are going to be installed. And it's also using Bower to download some JavaScript and CSS for our front end. Let me open the terminal. Oh. And let's go back. To the app, Melbourne. Yeah. So the app is already here. I can open it with. So it works with any IDE. I'm using IntelliJ because I guess that's the one most people are familiar with. But to be honest, I'm using quite a lot Visual Studio Code. I find it very, very good. Lots of people are using Eclipse. I don't know of anyone using NetBeans, but we've got NetBeans supports officially. That's supposed to work. I guess all of you use yeah. Yeah. Can you show your hand if you use IntelliJ? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Everybody. Okay. That's a good choice. So I opened up my project with IntelliJ. It generated, let's say, a Java project. IntelliJ saw it was done with Maven, so Maven is already installed. Oh, hang on, I'm going to put it in presentation mode, so it's bigger for you. Okay. Do you see it well now? Yeah.
Yeah, see well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's, let's say, a classic Maven project. If I open up my SSM and Java, well, that's oops, so big. You've got, let's say, repository. You've got a service layer. You've got a web and REST layer. And what we generated at the moment is mostly configuration. So we've got quite a big config directory. But for the rest, it's pretty empty. The only domain objects we are generating, and that's also the only repository layer and service layer and REST endpoints that we're generating, are only for security. So we've got a user, and the user has got authorities. It's, let's say, the usual security stuff from Spring Security. So that's the only thing we generate for the moment. We are just having the basic project for the moment. So that's my backend is done on Spring Boot. And my front end is here in web app. And it's an AngularJS app. We are following the John Papa style guide. So if I open up something very simple like the password page, as I said, we are doing lots of, well, the basic app has mostly got security stuff. So we've got a password page. And as you can see here, we've got like a router here. Oh, I'm going to this a little bit smaller. We've got a router, we've got a controller, and we've got a view. And as you can see, the view is using Twitter Bootstrap for doing the CSS. So that's pretty, let's say, usual stuff. At the same time, for Spring Boot and for AngularJS, the app is already. Oh, I'm not used to the presentation mode. I'm just exiting it quickly. Yeah, the app has been immediately seen here by IDE, by IntelliJ. so it's quite easy to configure it. And let's run it. That's oh, sorry, I just configured it. I didn't run it. Let's run it and see how it works. So yeah, I just open up the project and run the main file. I didn't do anything else. Come on, IntelliJ. So depending on your choices,
Julien, is that, sorry, quick question, is that a Java app that you're running? Just like, as in you're running a, just a standard thing from the command line?
Yes, it also works with, it's an executable app, it's Spring Boot. So basically, it's just an executable Java app.
Yeah, so it's just like writing the the standard Spring Boot executable thing from.
Yeah, so if you have IntelliJ understands Spring Boot, it's very good. But if you have something that does not understand Spring Boot, it's still a Java executable, so it's still going to work very easily. And if you have like really nothing, you can use Maven. We've got we installed you. I don't know if you know the Maven wrapper. We installed it for you. I can use it instead. Let's kill this. Let's use the Maven wrapper. And so it works. It also works with IDE at all.
Right.
And that's the goal, that you can develop with JHipster without anything. If you get an IDE, we're going to configure it. Oh yes. Just a quick view here. We configure. Hang on. View. Presentation mode. We configure your IDE with Git. Everything is really configured for you. So the IDE is going to recognize everything and work very well. If you don't have an IDE or you want to work with the command line, it also works with the command line. And so my app is running. Let's just open it up. Oh. You still see my screen? Yes. My screen? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the basic app. It's responsive. And we must have security screens like login, logout, changing the password, kind of thing. We've got
can you zoom in just a tad? Can you zoom in just a small bit? Can you increase the zoom level, please?
The zoom.
Command plus.
Yes. I did not know it was working.
It's responsive. Yeah. Thank you.
And we also generate some administration screens, like to have metrics on your application. This is done with drop wizard metrics. So you've got your JVM metrics, you've got your HTTP metrics, you've got your Spring beans metrics, like this Spring bean was called one time, and it costed like 200 milliseconds. As I selected each cache is also monitored. And as I selected a database, well, the data source is also monitored. So we got quite a lot of administration screens that are generated. They are usually based on what Spring Boot provides, like this else screen. This is done by, well, this is the REST endpoint from Spring Boot, but we secure it and we generate a front end on top of it. And then we add quite a lot of other screens, like this one, which is done with Swagger. So we've got a full API documentation on what is being generated. At the moment, it's quite empty. And if I go here, I've got no entities, nothing is generated. I just have a very basic application which has been generated. Oh, and I forgot, it's internationalized. You remember I selected English by default. I can have French, I can have Korean. Which are the options I selected when I generated the app. We have like 30 languages available, something like that. So my app is ready. Let's develop a little bit with it. For that, I've got several tools which are available. To use it from here because it's going to be easier. The first tool, which is, well, probably the most important tool, which is configured is gulp. So this is all configured for you. You just run gulp. It's going to work. And gulp is doing quite a lot of things. And the most important thing, let me make it bigger also, is that by default, it's running browser sync. So you can see here, that was the screen I was on. It's on port 8080 by default. That's your usual Tomcat port. And here now I'm on port 9000, and because it's up to 9000, it's done with browser sync. And now browser sync is managing my my browser. Let's just show you quickly what it does. If I open up another window, browser sync is synchronizing when I scroll. So that's working. It's synchronizing my clicks, and it's synchronizing when I'm typing something. Oh, sorry, this is, of course, you can't see. It's a password. Settings. When I'm tapping, it's synchronizing on all screens. So that's very important when you have different browsers, when you want to test with different screen size, or if you want to test with a cell phone and with desktop. We use this to have everything synced together all the time. So it's a very, very good tool for developing your front end. So this is all generated for you, and of course it's a lot. It's the first really good tool we have for developing. By the way, it's also synchronizing when you edit some code. So if I go, so this is a settings screen. If I open it up, settings.html is this one. If I delete this, I'm going to be very. Of course, it's a bit. Oh, if I delete everything, because I don't know what I deleted, we'll see. Of course, it's updated straight away here on the screen. So I can code very quickly. So when I'm working, I'm having my screen updated all the time, and I don't have to switch screens or update anything. So my tooling is ready, and now I'm going to code, of course, some real app. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how you can use some other subgenerators in JHipster to improve the application. So JHipster comes with a main generator, and then it has got a lot of subgenerators to help you improve the app once the first generator has been run. So the most well-known one is the entity subgenerator. So I'm going to call it JHipster entity, and I'm going to create a CRUD on an entity called foo, because it's just an example. And so I'm calling it, and it's going to ask me to generate fields. So I don't know the first field is called Melbourne. It's a string, and it's a required string. And it's going to, do you want another field? Yes, it's called Ipon, and it's an integer. It's not validated, and so on and so on. And as you can see here, this is doing like a database table. You've got the name of the table, you've got the field, you've got the type, and you've got the validation rules. Once my fields are ready, I can do relationships with other entities. So as this is just a very basic app at the moment, I just got one entity, it's the user one for Spring Security. So I'm going to link to that entity. Just for the demo, it's the only one I got for the moment. So I'm going to link to it, do a many-to-one relationship with it. No relationship, no validation rules, no other relationships. And then we've got a few more questions, because you can have DTOs, you could have a service layer, you can have something much more complex than just a CRUD, but for a simple demo of 1 hour with doing the basic stuff. And you can have pagination. Let's have a simple pagination. It's generating everything, so that's great. As you can see, if I just go here, it generated the Java code. It generated some database changelog with Liquibase. It generated Spring Boot AngularJS code. It generated internationalization code with the language I selected, and it generated test code. Remember, I selected the Gatling, so I've got some Gatling tests which are ready. And by default, we always have integration test and Karma.js test for unit test. So generated everything, and the cool thing with Gulp, because you remember I had Gulp running, is that Gulp updated the app automatically. So if I just go here, foo is already here. and my screen is already here. And you remember I selected pagination, it's here. I've got my fields like Melbourne and Ipon, and I had a many-to-one relationship with user, it's here. I can, if I said create a new foo, you remember I said Melbourne was required, well, it's required, so I got to type it. Ipon is not required. And the user, I had a many-to-one relationship to the user table, well, it's here. I can select it here. So that's cool. Everything out of the box. And then I'm going to have a bug. Because I did it on purpose just to show you. If I click on save, I've got a 404 error because I just updated the front end live, but I didn't touch the back end. And in fact, updating the back end is very, very easy. I could have add it automatically, but it's just I wanted to show you how it was working. I'm just going to click here on compile. So there are many different ways to do it, but I'm just compiling it. And when I'm compiling it, let's quickly go to Spring Boot, because I started it with Maven. Well, Maven, well, Spring Boot is seeing it. It's restarting automatically. And as we've got Liquibase for the database and so on, everything is going to be updated immediately. So usually it takes 2 seconds to update, but I say it lasted 7 seconds. I don't know. Maybe it's because of Australia, but usually it's very, very quick. But even 7 seconds, quite quick. And so now my database table is updated. Everything is ready. So when I click save, well, it's working. So here I've got the Java code, the database code, and the JavaScript code all updated live when I'm coding. So that's the second thing in my presentation. So the first thing in the presentation is that we're going to generate everything very quickly. But the rest of the presentation was like, we're configuring everything so that it's really, really fun to code very, very quick. As you can see, it doesn't feel like Java anymore. It's like PHP or Ruby on Rails. You just code your stuff, and it's just automatically updated everywhere. And we've got a very strong job on doing that, so that developers are very efficient. So that's really good for the for companies and for Ipon. That's very good. But also developers are very happy, and that's very, very good for us because, well, I'm like you, I'm a developer, I'm doing this for myself, and I want to have something very efficient when I code. So that's the basic, let's say, demo of what JHipster does. You've got lots of other generators to improve your app. And of course, when you go into more complex stuff, well, that's something very obvious that you're all going to tell me straight away. Is that doing this, manually generating entities is like a nightmare. Because if you got 1 or 2 entities, it's okay. But if you got like, last week we had a guy, he had 160 entities. So 160 entities, well, you can't do it by hand like that. Well, you can, but it's going to be very, very annoying. So for that, we've got some more tooling to help you. So there are different ways to do it. I'm just showing you the most common one. So it's also open source and free. It's called the GDL Studio. And I've got here a basic app. So can you see my screen well enough?
Yes.
Yeah. So this if you want to I increase it a little bit.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it's even better.
Yeah. So this is just free on our website. We've got now a domain language to help you generate your application. That generates a graph to show you what you are generating. If I go, you see the category. So it's a little sample app with a brand which has products, which has information, kind of thing. Let's say my category. I want to say Australian. It's a Boolean. So as you can see, I've got auto-completion, I've got validation, and my graph here is getting updated live. So that's a lot better to use. We've got other tooling to help you, but this is the easiest one to use. So that's the one I'm using for a quick demo. When you are happy with that, you can just download the code. And, well, you just take it and execute it. So I'm going back to my Melbourne folder. I'm going to copy it from downloads here. And I'm just calling another JHipster subgenerator called import-GDL. Oh, sorry, GDL. And what this thing is doing is that it's going to answer all the questions very, very quickly for myself. So it's already done. If I'm recompiling the app, so it's all done quickly. If I go back to my app now, oh, the brand, everything I created is here. If I go to the brand name is here. Oh, it's the category, sorry, where I put Australia. Okay, so I've got my categories with Australian. I can create a new category, say, I don't know, a kangaroo. And it's an Australian one. And I can save it. And as the Java code is updated, everything is working. What's really nice with that also is that everything else was updated straight away. So if I go to my metrics screen, you've got monitoring for you see brand categories. Everything is monitored. I can say created a category. It took 15 milliseconds. It's also in cache. You can see that I got one category in cache. So everything is monitored and cached. And it's also fully documented with Swagger. So if I go here to Swagger, oh, it's my fault. Sorry, I'm on my. I must go here. It's my fault. It's not in the production version. I'm in dev mode, and I perfectly know the mistake I did yesterday. I'm always doing my demos with the development version, and I shouldn't. So I went back to 8080, and it's working. And here everything is documented. So if I go to category with Swagger, I can do a get all, and it's going to tell me the JSON format I need, and I can try it out and get my kangaroo category, which is Australian, of course. So that's pretty easy to work with. I hope you saw that I could develop a whole application very quickly that way. Lots of things are generated, and I've got very good tooling to help me. Yes?
Question, Julian,
yes.
from Rob in the back.
Once you've added a whole bunch of code to that, how easy is it to make a change to that design?
Oh, yes.
Tool that you just showed us?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So if you want to change code, I've got several answers for you. So the first one is like we are just doing the scaffolding app. Show code. So if you go to here to entities, you've got the category entity. Oh, I'm putting it in presentation mode. Let's say I want to I don't know, the HTML part. Well, I just come here and Australian, I say hello. Hello. That's my code. And of course, updated the app. So if I go to category, now it's hello true. So I'm just changing my code. That's fine. That's usually what's going to happen to the entity screen, because we've got lots of business logic here, and people usually just take them and change them all the way around. Then it's not true for all. There are parts of the application which typically you want to keep JHipster working. A simple example: if I go to the configuration, the security configuration here is a bit complex. Remember, I selected GW for authentication, which is not a normal option with a security. So we did some little configuration. We've got here configurer and so on. Something you're not going to change. You want to have when there's a new version of JHipster coming, probably you want to have the worst version also. And for this, well, we've got an object class which is used. Let me just show you. On a website. So we've got a specific subgenerator. So I guess you remember here I did You've got and this thing is going to handle the upgrade process for you. What it's doing? I wanted to show you here this little graph. It's using Git. So it's going to create a new branch in Git with your new app. It's going to generate it. and then it's going to try to merge branches. So if you have some conflicts, you will have to resolve them, of course. But let's use this example with the JWT configuration. You probably did not change that at all. So, well, the merge is going to work without any issue. Now, imagine you change something. Well, probably you have some, let's say, specific security rule in your company because you are connected to something very specific, and you change something, and the merge is not working. Well, then there's some business code to do, and you will have to do the merge yourself. But that's not a very common situation, and of course, we can't do anything if you have some specific configuration that is in conflict with what we generate. But that's not a very common situation. Most of the time, people just do your JHipster upgrade, and it's upgrading the app to the latest version. Well, for the configuration screen and for the entities, usually the people don't update. It's they messed it up. Why they messed it up? They added all their business rules, and after that, it's their code. You got nothing specific in JHipster in what is being generated. So after all, it's your code afterwards. Did I answer your question?
No, what I meant was, can you change the design in JDL Studio and then regenerate just the deltas, or does that regenerate the whole project?
Yeah. Well, when you generate, well, you've got the option. You could. But well, usually people will regenerate, and then in that case, well, you can either use your manual, you've got some tooling to help you do GIFs and so on, or use that tool with Git. Which is going to erase what you have, overwrite what you have, while if you select overwriting. So you need to have tools to do some diffs and select what you want. But after some point, you're not regenerating stuff. It's your code. It's going to be so much different from a code that you will not want to.
So you're saying, Julien, that once you're basically the onus is on the developer to kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes rather than blindly upgrade.
During the upgrade, well, you don't have to understand everything because it's automated. But if you have a merge conflict, it's probably going to be on some part of the code which you understand, because if you have a merge conflict, it's because you change something. So obviously you know what's there.
Yeah. So if you're going to changing something in like a base layer, like the security layer, like JWT, then you should know what you're doing.
It's highly possible that the merge works well, because it's only if you change the same lines of code as the new version of JHipster. So probably there is a bug somewhere. So you're probably going to be to understand that what happened. But yes, well, most of the tools is just generating tools. So after that, it's your code, and you're supposed to understand a little bit of what's happening.
Cool. Did that get you in a place to do an answer?
I guess that just means that JDL Studio is just an initial point, and that's it.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, we've got some people working to use JDL Studio, let's say, around. You could export and re-import and so on. To have something which is like continuous. But at the moment, it's only. It's like it helps at the beginning. And then you're probably not going to use it, or you're not going to use it on all the apps. You probably will regenerate your new entities, but not the old ones. The old ones you modified them. But you've got like 10 new entities, and then maybe you will use the JDL Studios for the 10 new entities. But then it's up to you. It's your choice. You will generate everything, or just generate a subset. And that really depends on what you want to do and what you modified and your business logic. Yeah.
What about upgrading?
Sorry.
If you wanted to upgrade some of the components, like a newer version of Spring Boot or Hazelcast or something like that.
Yes. Well, if you want to,
use JHipster to regenerate.
Yes, that's usually good usage. Let's imagine I'm going to my pub.xml and I want to examine to EQECP this version. I don't know if it exists. I can do it manually. It's going to work. Or I can wait for the next release of JHipster and do the JHipster upgrade process. And the JHipster upgrade process is probably going to update that anyway. So basically, you've got a choice. You can either do it manually or continue to use the generator. Or, as I just said, you could use both, and maybe both of JHipster will have on the same line. But as you modify the line yourself, well, you know what the process is all about, so you'll be able to resolve it. But for this kind of configuration, you people use the generator. Because we're doing all the work for you on that. So you should not worry too much about and having all those working together. There are lots of conflicts, you know, with Java, lots of conflicts of versions, and we're doing a lot of work to have everything working together. And so you probably don't want to do it. But that's a choice, of course. The choice is yours in the end anyway.
Nothing.
Sorry?
I just went to move the laptop to show the next speaker and we lost our screen. In a very 80s style, static white noise. So I'm not going to move the screen, but I'm going to let this other gentleman in.
Okay, is it possible to integrate JHipster with existing projects, or if you want to use all or some of its components in existing projects?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you very well. You want to use components?
Is it possible to integrate JHipster with your existing projects, or it works with only of the projects which are created using JHipster?
I very often have this question. It's very hard because it's not so you could generate and then try to generate. So if you're using already Spring Boot and AngularJS, probably you can mesh stuff, but it's going to be hard probably. And oh, by the way, because we switched to question and answers, I didn't finish my demo. Because that was one last thing I wanted to show. Can I just 5 minutes to finish?
Yeah, please go.
Yeah, because sorry, I just forgot one thing. What we generated here, so it's very good for developers. If I, for example, here open my entities, so we've got very, very modular code. So you see with Angular UI router, with a service, with a controller. So that's really, really good for developing. And that's why we've got everything being updated live all the time. But let's go to my app. Oh, I closed it. If I go to my app here and I do a quick audit of my app, with Chrome. Well, Chrome is going to say, oh, Julien, what you did, it's really awful. Have a look. We've got 151 JavaScript. We don't have JSON compression. We don't have browser caching. And it's not, and the audit is not totally seeing everything. We've got also lots of little HTML files that we are going to load each time. So it's even much worse than what we are seeing here. So what we are generating is very, very good for developing, but it's very, very bad for production. And as I told you before, we prepared everything for production. So we just wanted to show you how it's working, just so you understand the whole process. And also one part where you can see that what we do is very, very bad. If I open up our index.html file, we've got here all the JavaScript files which are listed. And that's why it's very modular, it's easy to update, and it's great to work on as a developer, but for production, you just can't have that. Maybe with HTTP2, but at the moment, that's very, very bad to have that. So how is it going to work? Well, JHipster has got, in fact, 2 profiles, one for development, one for production. By default, I'm in development, so that's why everything was working. I'm going to switch to production, and for that, well, I'm even going to quit my IDE because we don't need it for production. And I'm back here on my console, and I'm going to start my app in production. So in production, you might remember I said I wanted to use MySQL. So I also need to have a MySQL server. And so we're going to see also that we generate a lot of tooling for production. So I'm going to start Docker. It's not the only tool we have for production, but when I'm doing my demos, I love to use Docker because it's the easiest one to use. And here, I can just use Docker Compose. And in my SSA main Docker directory, well, JHipster already generated quite, well, it's a simple project. So here we've got just a little, just 3 Docker Compose files, one including MySQL. So if I had selected MongoDB, I would have had MongoDB. If I had selected Cassandra, I would have Cassandra. If I selected Elasticsearch, I would have had Elasticsearch. If I selected Kafka, I would have Kafka. We generate Docker Compose files for all the technologies that you are using. And I just say Docker Compose up. And I've got my MySQL running, and with the correct configuration with regard to what I selected for JHipster. And now I'm just running again my app, but I'm using the production profile. So with Maven, I'm using -p prod for production. And so what JHipster is going to do now is going to regenerate the app in production mode. So the Java code is going to be tested. The JavaScript code also is going to be compiled, packaged into an executable jar file, and the whole JavaScript, CSS, and HTML files are going to be minified and optimized. So everything is going to be set up directly for production and run, and it will connect, of course, to my MySQL database. Oh, I forgot to start. Oh, yeah. So if you don't update to macOS X Sierra because MySQL Workbench is not working, so I wanted to show you with MySQL Workbench that the database was empty. Well, just trust me, it was empty. It's going to be generated by JHipster. And so that new app is going to have everything minified and compressed, and we're going to see that the performance is going to be much, much better, of course. So it's running now. By the way, one good way to know that you are in development or in production is to look here. If you are in development, you've got a big development banner. If you are in production, you've got no banner anymore. So let's refresh. And now you see I don't have the banner. I'm in production. Let's do the audit again. Oh, let's log in first to have exactly the same configuration. Let's run the audit again. Yes. Oh, sorry, it failed. What happened? Hang on. Audit.
You haven't updated the URL, have you? You're still going to your old. You're not going to the Docker container.
Oh, that's because I messed up my. Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. I didn't close. I didn't close the other app. You know, I kept the development version running. And so I had post conflict. And so the production version failed. So I was still in development. So it's me having too many terminals open. Let's close this one. I was still in development mode. Oh no, I had the banner removed. Oh no, because I wasn't the same. It's just taking some little time because it's going to unit test. So we generate unit test for Java, unit test for JavaScript, unification. So this is quite a complex setup. Okay, it's running again.
So, Julien, does it bake the assets and the code into the Docker image? And if you're in production mode, can you actually change any of the code once you've created the production, or once you're running with the production profile?
No. Well, when you are in production mode, you just will do the audit again. So this is perfect. And you are going to see that, in fact, to audit the code is going to be a little bit annoying. We got tools. Let me show you one thing. One error in our code. HTML file is not cached. That's not because it's the one having the worst. It's the one having, everything minified. Let me open up again the app to show you. And then to go to your explanation, everything is minified, so it's supposed to be very, very hard to debug and understand what's going on. Just do one thing. I'm going to sorry, switch up. I'm going to select this. And say, okay, I would like to inspect that and work on it. And oh, let's see, it's working. I've got the HTML, the CSS, everything is working. And everything is working because when we minify everything, we also can have source maps, which are debugging information that the browser is understanding. So I can have everything very magnified and efficient for production, but I can still work on it if I want to. You know, I can change the stuff here. I can no, I'm removing this and saying bonjour. Oh, sorry, bonjour. So I can still work on it. Let me just show you what it did. In fact, in reality. My code was in fact minified in this directory, which is hidden. And so my new, let's say my new index.html file, you can see we've got now a minified file with an MD5. If I open it up, it's all magnified, amplified, and you can't see anything. And next to those files, we have generated some source maps. So that's the debugging files. Still work on it if you want to. My browser is understanding quite well. The browser is saying, okay, this is the real source of your app. This is the source you're having now, which is not understandable. And this is the real source, and it's able to link between them. So I can still work very easily. I'm very, very efficient. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
And of course, we won't have the time to show all the deployment possibilities, ML web services, and I have even. Do you know OVH in Australia? I know Duncan does. Well, we both know someone who works for them. OVH is a French hoster. And they've got some boxes, 2.5 euros per month, and it's working with that. So, because what we generate in the end is just a very small executable jar file with everything minified in it. So it's very easy to host it. Very cheap hosting.
Right. So OVH, sorry, that did cut out a little bit there, but OVH is a hosting platform. Is that?
Yes, it's French, but I know it's also in Australia.
Right. Okay.
But what we do in the end is in fact very, very easy. Because we just generate an executable jar file. What's an executable file? So it's very easy to upload it anywhere and run it. So we've got subgenerators for Heroku, Amazon Web Services, Cloud Foundry, but they're quite simple. At the end, it's just an executable file to upload somewhere and that you run with the correct configuration so that it can see MySQL, for example. But that's all. And oh, by the way, all our configuration. So if I go here, if you are used to Spring Boot, well, we've got here a YAML configuration from Spring Boot with the standard Spring Boot properties. So it's very well. I mean, today everybody is used to manage those, and probably your production team know how to handle those. You know, you can do environment variables to update them. So it's very easy to have that application in production with some well, let's say good production settings. Whew. So just to summarize, because I know time is running, I generated an application from scratch with some question and answers. I updated it with the first generator. Then I used the GDL Studio to do something more complex. And I modified some of the code. We saw that everything was updated live, like the Java code, the JavaScript code, everything is updated. The database also is updated. Everything is updated live. And that's the goal, that you are very, very efficient. And once everything's done, we saw that in, I don't know how much time it took, but in, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes, I could magnify everything, put everything to production and deploy it to production. And by the way, with Docker, because that was also generated with Docker. So you really have got the tools to have your app running very, very quickly, develop very quickly, and then put into production. What we do at Ipon, well, what I do quite often for clients, most customers, they don't really know about all that. And they say, okay, I would like to have my app done, I don't know, next month. And what we do very quickly is that we do a first app which looks a little bit, while the business logic looks a little bit at what the client works like this. This is what I done, in fact, for a client. He wanted to have products, categories, brands, so on. So we just coded that. We generated that very, very quickly, like in 1 hour that was done. We changed the CSS because all this is done with the Twitter Bootstrap, so it's very easy. We've got some CSS rules, so it's very easy to change this, to have the look, to have the image of the client, to have his logo, and so on. And like in a couple of hours, we've got something which is looking like what the client wants, and you can put it into production very quickly. For that, usually I use Cloud Foundry, and so like in Alpha Day, I've got something working in Cloud Foundry with production mode, which looks a lot like what the customer wants. So just after like Alpha Day, we've got that running, and that's a very, very good start for us when we start the project, because, well, the client says that, oh, okay, we're able to do everything very quickly. So it's like you start the relationship with a very good first impression, and then you can keep on updating the app very often. And so usually my clients, like every end of the week, I do a production release, and while he's saying his application updated, and this is how we work and how quickly we can go. So that's very good to have let's say very good relationships with clients from the beginning, because this is that this is something working straight away instead of waiting for like a couple of months. Like your first 2 sprints, you're setting up the project and the client doesn't see anything, and so the client after 1 month is like, whoa, what's going on? Are you really doing something? And after like Alpha Day, you can already see something, play with it, and that establishes a much better relationship from the beginning. Then of course, we are not stealing the developer's job. You still have to do all the business logic. So you've got still all the code to do, and that doesn't change anything to our day-to-day job. We still need to code the business logic, of course. And that's the normal work. Okay. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah. Oh, I'm stopping the screen sharing if I can. Okay.
What's the most minimal microservice you could build? Let's say if you wanted one that only did message communication, you didn't need. You take that stuff out.
Yes, for microservices, you don't have the same options. Once again, it's a tree. I've already had the same issues with microservices, because very often you get something very, very small. So the first thing, like microservice, by default, you can generate it afterwards. And then it's the only application where you can select not to update it. Because for microservice, you put something else which is security. You've got to get rid of security, to server. That's also other things that you can do for you. That's the other stuff we generate. And so the service could be just a very simple Spring Boot app with no database. So it's really very small. Well, in that case, you can consider using also Spring Boot Elijah, for doing something very, very small. The most interesting thing with what we do is that once you got that very simple microservice, well, JHipster can I didn't show that, but we can also generate Docker configuration, and for that you need to have generated your app with JHipster, because we generate some configuration for you, and then we've got our Docker subgenerator. You can generate the whole Docker configuration for all your microservices, gateways, everything in one. So you've got let's say very good interest to use JHipster to generate that small microservice. But then again, it can be very, very small because it can have like nothing, you know, no database, no Elasticsearch, no nothing. I'm currently working with the Kafka option, and by the way, I didn't try it, but it should work. To have just Kafka and no database, because that's what I need to do for a client. That would be like, I would think, a normal use case for a microservice.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. What are your plans with the integration of Angular 2, like your roadmap?
Ah, the roadmap. I didn't hear very well. So you're asking for the roadmap, like
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. We've got a huge work on Angular 2. It's currently taking all of our work. I don't know when it will be finished, to be totally honest. Well, we have two things with Angular 2. The first thing is that we generate quite a lot of things. We don't generate just an hello world. No, there are other generators which are already working, but they just do hello world. Hello world, we can do this from a long time. We're doing something much more complex. So we've got a lot of work to do to just update everything. And that's being done. It's not finished yet, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Then the second issue we have, which is a much bigger issue with AngularJS 2, is that a lot of third-party libraries are not ready. And once again, we don't do just an hello world app. If you you saw what I generated. It's AngularJS, but we added some little libraries on top of it. We've got, for example, I selected to have pagination, so we've got a directive for pagination. We had at some point we had a calendar, so we've got a directive for the calendar. Those are not very complex or very I don't know, surprising directive to add. Everybody wants a calendar and everybody wants to have pagination on his app. But the issue is that all those third-party apps, well, libraries, are usually not ready for AngularJS 2. And if you take one of them, maybe it's ready. But when you take 3 or 4 of them, well, everything is in beta or even in alpha, you start to have bugs. And that's making us lose quite a lot of time. And we will end up having everything working, that's for sure. The project today, what is good is it's big enough to attract developers to help us. For example, we wanted to migrate a UI router. So UI router is a router we are using for AngularJS. And in fact, we have the developer from UI router, the main developer, helping us. It's contributing to JHipster. So we've got like some very good contributors. We can attract some very top-level contributors to the project. So we should have something very good in the end. But today, it's just like too alpha to have something ready for production. What worries me is that it's the same thing if you want to do it by hand. If you want, I have a couple of customers who said, okay, I don't want to use JHipster, I'm going to do it myself. And well, for Ipu, it's very good because they are buying consulting days for, well, lots of consulting days for something I don't find that much interesting because they are just, squeezing bugs in alpha versions of third-party libraries, losing lots of time. For me, at the moment, I would just use AngularJS 1 because it's working. And let's say we need to wait a little bit, like a few weeks, maybe a few months, before we have something fully working. And honestly, it's a very big job. But we will be there. Very quickly, probably.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which JavaScript are you using, like AS5, AS6, or is there any choices for which one you're going to generate?
Can you repeat? Can you repeat?
So the question, I'll just summarize, yeah. So which version of JavaScript are you using? Is it ES5, ES6?
Or is there any choices of what you can use?
Yeah, or do you get the choice to choose?
No, well, so current version is Angular 1, it's the normal JavaScript. For the version 2, well, for AngularJS 2, we are already using TypeScript 2. So that's going to change.
Okay. Yeah, one question at the back.
Are you overriding the templates, the scaffolding templates generating a UI?
So yeah, question was, can you overwrite the templates that are used for the scaffolding UI?
Oh yeah. My previous answer was that but if you want to do your own templates, it's also possible. We have quite a number of people. They want to have their own sub-generators because they've got maybe their own templates for JavaScript. But maybe, for example, another question I often have is that in my company, we've got a specific security configuration, and we want our own sub-generator for that specific security configuration. And it's the same use case, basically. You want to have your own templates for some specific part of the code. And for that, well, if you go to our website, we've got something called modules, and you can code your own modules. So a module is like a sub-generator. It's the same thing that I just coded, but it's yours. So you have full access to our API, you have full access to Yeoman, you have full access to everything that we do. But that sub-generator is in fact yours, and you can do whatever you want with it. And usually what people do is that they do their own templates. If you go to our website, we've got a marketplace, and we've got like more than 20 modules available there. There are in fact far more modules. Most of them are done by people in their own companies, and they don't share them. You know, the module is yours, so you can have a different license. You can share it if you want. You cannot share it if you don't want to. You can sell it if you want. Some people are trying to sell them. Most modules are in fact quite easy. It's like, yes, I want a different look and feel. I want a different security system. I want I want an option like there was one person last week. He wanted to add a PDF reports, and we don't support that by default. So probably he will do his own module. Or we have a very popular module for Ionic. You know, that person wanted to have a totally different front end. He wanted to use Ionic. So this is his module, and he's sharing it. So and the beauty of it is that you've got the full APIs that we use. So it's like exactly the same thing that what we do, but it's yours. So it's a really good way of working with JHipster, but having full control on it, and maybe not even sharing it because you want it for your own company. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you how JHipster was working. So it's based on Yeoman. It's all JavaScript, and it's very, very stupid. Honestly, it's very easy to work on. It's just JavaScript with some tags. Doing your own template is super easy. We often do hackathons. I did one in Paris 2 weeks ago, and there was one guy. He arrived. You know, it was like 9 in the morning. He had never seen that at all in his whole life. And like 1 hour after, he was already doing pull request, because that's very, very easy. Once it's installed, well, you just have a look, and it's very, very simple templates. People often see it as an issue with JHipster because they tell me, oh, I would like to have something, you know, much more smarter. But in fact, the beauty of it is that it's so simple that anybody can use it and anybody can contribute. And that's why we have nearly 250 contributors. That it's so easy that a lot of people are coming and are helping. And I'd much rather have something which is like this, very, very simple, than having something much more smarter, but which you could not use, or I mean, you could not use easily without spending days understanding how it's working. If you have a look at what we generate, it's very, very easy to get started. Oh.
I think that answers that.
Hopefully.
I think we might leave it there. Yeah, thank you very much, Julien. Round of applause, please.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And I'm happy to answer other questions if you have on Twitter. You know, at Julien Dubois or at JavaHipster, don't hesitate.
Well, if you follow the MelbJVM Twitter, we've been tweeting there all night, so seeing the retweets. So what we'll do now, we'll give away our Java IDE. So yeah, if you just want to hang around. Normally it's the presenter who gets to draw the raffle. However,
yeah,
a bit far away, we're going to get your remote hands of Duncan to come up and draw on your behalf. Yes.
And so I wish you a very good evening.
Yeah, cool.
Because it's a day for me.
Yeah. We'll leave you. Yeah.
Okay.
Stay on the line just for 2 seconds.
Okay.
Anyone?
Who's the name?
Yes, Rishikesh.
All right. Yeah. Get your details afterwards. Thanks again, Julian. Really appreciate you taking your morning out to tell us about JHipster. We're looking forward to trying it out.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.